Hello and welcome to the Dailies. Western media attention has centered on geopolitics and power politics, led by Ukraine peace negotiations, US-Russia tensions, and disputes over sanctions and digital regulation. Christmas coverage was present, but subdued in tone and often framed against heavier backdrops like war, economic strain, or political tension, rather than festive optimism. Major outlets balanced seasonal pieces with dominant hard news, making Christmas feel secondary rather than central in the overall news agenda. We'll start with US media, which centered on Ukraine peace talks, developments in the Epstein files, and President Trump's approval ratings, alongside broader foreign policy coverage. These hard news stories were balanced with lighter Christmas-themed reporting on travel, faith, and holiday traditions. The Washington Post focuses on the mounting problems facing the US Department of Justice after officials revealed they had uncovered more than 1 million additional pages linked to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. The piece also explains that the discovery has overwhelmed prosecutors, delayed releases beyond the legal deadline, and led to rushed redactions and confusing rollouts. It also highlights references to Donald Trump, which have intensified scrutiny, fueling criticism over transparency, competence, and political sensitivity. Politico argues that President Donald Trump's strong GDP growth masks a widening economic divide. The analysis contends that while headline figures show rapid expansion driven by consumer spending, the gains are concentrated among the top 10%, prompted by stocks, property, and rising high-end wages. It goes on to say that wealthy households are powering growth, while many Americans face rising debt, weak income gains, and higher borrowing costs, leaving voter sentiment sour despite an apparently booming economy. Foreign policy assesses the uneven global impact of Donald Trump's transactional foreign policy, identifying clear winners and losers in 2025. The piece highlights countries such as China, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Argentina, and Pakistan who benefited through eased tensions, economic deals, or political alignment with Trump. It also talks about other countries, including Venezuela, Iran, South Africa, Canada, and India, who faced sanctions, tariffs, or diplomatic strain. Overall, the piece argues Trump's mercurial decision-making rewards loyalty and leverage while punishing resistance, reshaping alliances with little emphasis on long-term stability. The New York Times offers an immersive look at President Trump's dramatically transformed Oval Office, recreated in 3D using hundreds of photographs. The feature argues that Trump's second-term redesign reflects a deliberate embrace of maximalism with gold applique, antiques, mirrors, and also portraits, as you can see, crowding nearly every wall. The piece contends that the space functions less as a traditional workplace and more as a theatrical stage for power, branding, and also performance. It also highlights Trump's aesthetic that draws on European royal symbolism, personal luxury, and also historical imagery, reinforcing his self-image as a triumphant figure. Regarding Ukraine, Newsweek examines a notable shift by Volodymyr Zelenskyy, who signaled willingness to withdraw Ukrainian forces from parts of Donetsk and consider a demilitarized zone to advance peace talks. Framed also as a breakthrough after weeks of US-led negotiations under President Trump, the piece stresses that territorial disputes remain the central obstacle. It clarifies that Ukrainian troop withdrawals would depend on reciprocal Russian pullbacks and international supervision, subject to a national referendum after a ceasefire. The New York Times explains why Russia is unlikely to accept a revised US-Ukrainian peace plan presented by Volodymyr Zelenskyy, despite added security guarantees backed by Washington. The analysis contends that Moscow, led by Vladimir Putin, sees the proposal as offering no meaningful territorial compromise, while battlefield momentum favors Russia. The piece also includes a map highlighting contested regions, as you can see, showing Russia controlling most of Donetsk, while Ukraine still holds key areas Moscow demands, underscoring why negotiations remain stalled despite US involvement under Donald Trump. European and British media focused on Ukraine peace talks and Russia, tensions with the Trump administration over sanctions and free speech, and also domestic political fallout. British outlets also highlighted royal Christmas coverage, cost of living pressures, and migration and policing debates. The Telegraph breaks down Volodymyr Zelensky's US-backed 20-point peace plan, presenting it as Kiev's most far-reaching compromise of the war. The report contends that while the proposal affirms Ukrainian sovereignty and secures Western security guarantees, it opens the door to territorial concessions, demilitarized zones, and post-war elections, long-standing Russian demands. Disputes over occupied regions and some other nuclear plants remain unresolved, underscoring how far Vladimir Putin and Kiev still are from a settlement. Le Monde details a sharp escalation in transatlantic tensions after EU condemned US sanctions targeting 5 Europeans involved in digital regulation, including former Commissioner Thierry Breton. The report explains that the mentioned names were accused by Washington of prompting censorship under EU tech rules, a claim Brussels rejected as unjustified interference. The piece also notes that Emmanuel Macron and German officials denounced the move as intimidation, reaffirming Europe's right to regulate its digital space and defend regulatory sovereignty. The Guardian commented on this American visa ban, arguing that they mark an opening in a broader Trump-era free speech confrontation. The analysis contends that MAGA-aligned politicians see EU and UK online safety laws as threats to Silicon Valley profits and absolutist views of free expression. It goes on to say that targeting figures like Thierry Breton sends a warning to regulators enforcing the Digital Services Act and Online Safety Act, signaling that transatlantic tech regulation will face sustained political and legal resistance. Another story that was reported internationally was Nasri Asfoura's narrow victory in Honduras's disputed presidential election. Animal Politico highlights how Asfoura won by less than 1 percentage point amid fraud allegations. The piece also underscores how Donald Trump's explicit backing, threats to cut US aid, and diplomatic pressure played a decisive role in consolidating right-wing support. It concludes Trump's endorsement boosted Asfoura's credibility with voters and also institutions, helping secure his proclamation as president and marking the right's return to power after 4 years. And as the world is celebrating Christmas, the Palestine Chronicle offers a stark, human-centered portrait of Christmas in the Gaza Strip, where celebrations has been replaced by survival. The report focuses on displaced families sheltering in Holy Family Church. It shows faith practiced as endurance amid shortages and ongoing Israeli strikes. The piece contrasts Gaza's devastation with subdued observances in Bethlehem, underscoring how Palestinian Christians frame Christmas as solidarity, mourning, and resilience rather than festivity. And we'll go back to the Telegraph, where we will end on a lighter note with a special Christmas message as the Princess of Wales and her daughter Princess Charlotte surprised viewers by opening together at the Christmas Carol concert with a piano duet filmed at Windsor Castle. The moment highlighted their shared love of music and family connection, setting a reflective tone focused on kindness and simple acts of care. That's it from us today. Thank you for watching the Dailies only on Al Arabiya English, and Merry Christmas.